As crazy as it sounds, if you have your worries about Kenny Pickett or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a perfect place while most of the NFL right now is struggling to figure out what they're going to do with their quarterback and how they're going to make it work. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, we're talking about how the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a great position while a lot of the rest of the NFL, well, they're going to struggle for the next couple of years. And if they don't hit the mark right on the head with their quarterback situation, it's all over. But for the Steelers, well, they can play trial and error. It'll be just fine. You've teams like the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos, the Jacksonville Jaguars will reach that point. The Cincinnati Bengals will hit that point very soon where you need to sign your quarterback to a big deal if you haven't already. The Denver Broncos are a perfect example of this. I see people actually talk about, and they're serious when they do this, if they wait 4 more years, Russell Wilson's cap space drops like $30 million or something, where they only lose about $25 million. And they're like, okay, well, if they could just push it out that far, things will be fine. That's where the Denver Broncos are. And that is an awful place to be. And there are a lot of teams that are going to sit there and put themselves in this situation. Why? Because of the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. You guarantee that much money for a guy that did not perform well in 2022, and we have no idea if he'll ever perform well again. I mean, the guy didn't play football for 2 years, and people tried to act like that's not a big deal. We've seen it time and time again. People take 2 years off of football, they come back, or they take a year off of football, they come back, and they're absolutely terrible for the rest of their career. Average at best. The Cleveland Browns have put themselves in that situation where they're hoping and praying that Deshaun Watson turns out to be the greatest quarterback of all time, and they're going to pay him like that. But really, all they did was shoot themselves in the foot early and have the rest of the league scrambling because they made a bad deal. And now every quarterback out there wants the same deal. Meanwhile, the Steelers are not there. The Baltimore Ravens are the team that everybody wants to talk about because they don't know what to do with Lamar Jackson. He was hurt the last 6 weeks of the season. He didn't play in the playoff game. It seems to be an ongoing occurrence where Lamar Jackson isn't able to finish a season. But still, he's Lamar Jackson. He's an MVP of the league. Chances are you can win a Super Bowl with him if you build a team around him and he could stay healthy. He is that guy. But the Ravens don't know what to do with him, so they're considering franchise tagging him because they're not going to pay him a boatload of guaranteed money and risk their future. Even though the rest of their team, outside of their defense, isn't really much. There are a lot of teams that are going through the same thing. The Cincinnati Bengals have to re-sign Joe Burrow. And don't get me wrong, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are two totally different guys. Joe Burrow has proven he could take a team to the Super Bowl. He almost did it again this year. He's Joe Cool. That city loves him. That team loves him. He's a winner. And Lamar Jackson is a winner too, but Joe Burrow proved he could take you to the big game. So he'll get his money, and they won't worry about that at all. But it's going to make the rest of that team very complicated. The Baltimore Ravens, they don't want to sign Lamar Jackson to that much money because it's going to make the rest of that team very complicated. The Chargers are in the same boat. Justin Herbert signs a big deal. It's going to make the rest of that team very complicated. The Green Bay Packers are looking to get rid of Aaron Rodgers because it's going to make the rest of that team complicated for years to come. Meanwhile, the Steelers are sitting around with the second most expensive defense in the NFL and a quarterback that maybe they don't know if he's the guy long-term. But that's a better place to be right now than where the rest of this league is. Because people are going to hand out guaranteed money after guaranteed money, $250,000, $300,000, guaranteed money left and right. And the Steelers are just going to sit there and say, hey, Kenny Pickett, you're going to make $14 million over the next 4 years. We're going to 50-year option you. You're going to make a little bit more money then we'll sign you to a big deal. It'll be good. You'll get your money if everything works out. But for those next 5 years, we are going to stack this team. There's a reason that you win big with young quarterbacks. It's because you have so much money to spend that you don't have if you do dumb things like sign somebody to a $250,000 or $250 million fully guaranteed deal. The Steelers don't have to worry about that. So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, we'll go through the defenses because that's what everybody wants to talk about. How the Steelers have the most expensive defense in the NFL. Well, technically it's the second most expensive defense in the NFL, and they fall right behind the Los Angeles Chargers, who have a lot of guys signed, but they now have to sign Justin Herbert, and they're going to cut guys like Keenan Allen because of it, who should not be cut. But that's the situation that they're in. Then it goes Pittsburgh, the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are in a great spot until Trevor Lawrence signs, the Green Bay Packers, who are in a terrible spot and don't seem to be getting any better, the Tennessee Titans, who don't really have a quarterback situation figured out, the New Orleans Saints, who also don't have a quarterback situation get figured out, the Miami Dolphins, who also don't have a quarterback situation figured out, and then it drops into teams like the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams, who don't actually believe in the cap space. And the Buffalo Bills are going to fall apart this offseason because they can't afford to keep everybody. The Steelers could. The Steelers are looking at this offseason and saying, okay, we cut Mitch Trubisky, we cut William Jackson, we have nearly $20 million to spend right there. You make a couple other cuts and you rearrange some contracts, and boom, we have enough money to go out and sign a couple of splash guys because, frankly, our defense doesn't have a whole ton of holes. You need some depth on the defensive line and bring back Larry Ogunjobi so that you have a starter. You need Cam Sutton to come back, and then maybe you go draft another cornerback and you feel really good about the 4 that you have in that room. You hopefully bring back Terrell Edmonds and DeMonte KZ, and your safety room is totally fine. And then you add some depth in the NFL draft. You find another inside linebacker somewhere, but that's not going to be very expensive. The Steelers are in a great spot, while a lot of these teams are not. You look at the offensive side of the ball, and you could say whatever you want about the offensive line, but if it didn't move, it wouldn't keep the Steelers from winning every game. It would hurt them. It would make it more difficult. Would it end their chances of going on a Super Bowl run? No. The oldest person on that line is Mason Cole, who's about to turn 27 years old. You have everybody else pretty much on rookie deals or on small deals. You have Calvin Austin coming back. You could hopefully re-sign Zach Gentry. You don't need much if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense. You don't need much if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers on defense. You have the second most expensive defense in football, and you don't have to worry about a quarterback contract. A great place to be if you're the Steelers. And not everything's perfect, and we get that. The Steelers are not expected to do crazy things this season, and they still have a lot of question marks. And yeah, this is a team that's in a soft rebuild, and some people are considering it a hard rebuild, but overall, the Steelers are still a team that is growing. But that's okay because they're going to watch the rest of the league, or at least a lot of these contenders, begin to struggle because they're going to build a team around a quarterback and a quarterback's money, which doesn't leave them with much to work with. So yeah, the Steelers might be in a place where they're not a superstar team right now, but all those superstar teams are going to start to see the wrath of a quarterback contract. The Steelers saw it for years with Ben Roethlisberger and the crazy things that they had to do to create cap space so that they could keep a team together. Other teams are going to have to start doing the same thing, and it's going to put them in a hole, and you're going to see the lasting effects of that. So yeah, maybe the Steelers are in a better spot than a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who are trying to land Lamar Jackson long-term. And that sounds crazy, but it's true. And there are a lot of teams out there that are doing the same thing, and that if it doesn't hit them this year, example, the Buffalo Bills, who still had Josh Allen on a huge deal, but at the same time was able to keep that team together. Well, that's going to fall apart this year when a lot of their defensive guys leave. and a lot of their offensive linemen leave. And you're going to have guys starting to hit out on contracts, and you're not going to be able to resign. Maybe they don't have everything figured out, but they could test anything they want for the next 5 years. You guys can't. And a lot of the rest of the league can't. And if you're going to pick one, as crazy as it sounds, you want to be the team with a question mark at quarterback and the trial and error ability to go figure it out, instead of those that are locked into a deal that maybe doesn't work out. And for the next X amount of years, you're trying to figure out if you regret signing the superstar QB to all the money, because that's how the NFL trended. Steelers don't got to worry about that.